Hello gang, SharpShot21 here. Couple of thoughts I've been having on the Danger Ranger here. Now that we're pretty much through the front end rebuild and into the AC rebuild, and then the top end rebuild, because all of that's had to happen. I've been doing some digging, mainly for the BMW, which I don't think I've ever shown off on this channel. My BMW, my 318ti, not the X3. But with the 318ti, that has a 5-speed manual in it. And don't get me wrong, I love a manual. I miss driving a manual. But around here, they have some disadvantages, especially with going to work in the city. Just getting from my house to the interstate right now, I've got 11 or 12 stoplights, and then I've got another 7 once I get off the interstate. So I've got 19 stoplights in 15 miles. So if you know a standard, that's, is it doable? Yes. Is it fun? No. Are you replacing a clutch fairly often? Yes. The other problem with the 318s, which this one's an E36 because it's 95, those 5 speeds had no overdrive. They were geared fairly short. And 5th is direct, so you have no overdrive, you have no highway gear, you have no cruise gear. And just with the diff gearing and the wheel sizes on them, to do 75 or 80 on the highway, you're winding the thing out to $3,000 or $4,000 from what I'm hearing from folks who have them. So I've been looking at doing, and I promise it comes around, looking at doing a transmission swap. Now, my initial thought was to get a 6-speed out of like a Z4. Is that doable? Yes. Part of the problem there, though, is those Z4 transmission 6-speeds are a different bell housing pattern, because they changed the engine bell housings, or the engine patterns, for the Z4. The Z5's will bolt right up, but the Z5 only came with the same 5-speed that's in the 318. So I stumbled onto a couple guys doing transmission swaps on various vehicles with ZF8HP series transmissions. Now, they made a few different ones, but one of them, the one I want to do for the BMW, is a ZF8HP 45 or 50, which, if I can find the right one, which is going to be a little tricky here in the States, will bolt right up to the M42B engine that is in the Mini. And yes, I did say M42B because mine is of 95. It's not an M44. So that would give me an 8-speed auto. You throw a transmission controller on it, like a Turbo Lamic or similar, and then you get a sequentially shifted manual transmission if you want it, or an automatic, depending on what you're doing. You also throw a clutch emulator in, and now you're really talking. So the plan for the BMW is to do just that. Now I've been looking because they make several different series transmissions, and the ZF series also came in trucks and SUVs. So you can get a ZF 8HP 70 with a 4x4 output or an all-wheel drive tail housing on it. You see where this is going. If I can get an 8HP 70 with the right bell housing, every BMW engine of the 1.8 liter size, which includes the TDIs, has the same bell housing pattern. At least for the bolts, the same bolt pattern. Cool, that's fun. So let's see if we can do an 8HP 70 to a BMW TDI out of a Passat to the Borg-Warner transfer case that's in this, which I believe is a 1354. I'm going to save myself about 80-90 pounds of transmission weight over going to the 5R55E, which is what I was originally going to put in this. I can make an adapter for column shifter for that controller, so I get park reverse neutral drive, but then I can use the 3 other spaces on the factory 94 column that's in here for other modes. So I could put it in, say, drive, not the overdrive spot, and I get a tow haul mode. I put it in 2 and I get a low range mode. I put it in 2 and I get a sport mode, or I turn that into my tow haul mode, and drive gets me a little tighter shift patterns. Sportier shift mode. 1 gives me a low range. You see what I can do here. If I keep the Borg-Warner transfer case that's here, I can keep the push button transfer case selector. And I don't have to go to a full-time 4-wheel drive on this truck, or all-wheel drive on this truck, which with the hub disconnects that we put in doesn't make sense to do. So I'm kind of leaning that way, because the controllers for standalone controllers for a 5R55 are very hard to find. Several companies make them for the 8HP 70s, or just the ZF 8HP series transmissions in general. So if I can get a decent controller, figure out a way to do a column shifter adjustment, have somebody make an adapter to go from the output, the all-wheel drive output shaft on the transmission into the Borg-Warner transfer case, I might need some new drive shafts, but that'll help tremendously with fuel mileage. For one, I probably could get somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to the gallon with an 8-speed in this thing. Give me better control for any small towing I want to do. Give me better control with the TDI, because then I can have the turbodynamic talk to the VW ECM, because they can communicate by a CAN. So I think I'm going to go that way with this setup. It's going to cost me a little bit more, I suspect, but I have a sneaking suspicion in the long run that'll be a better set of running gear for this truck. I'm going to keep the Ford 8.8 in the back, and I'm going to keep the Dana, I think it's a 30 I've got up front, or a 40. I've got the bigger Dana front axle on this because it's the 4-liter. So I'm going to keep all those. I'm going to keep the limited slip in the back. I'll keep the open diff up front. though I might put an air locker in it. That could be fun, or an electronic locker, an e-locker. So, you know, some food for thought on this, and I'd love to hear anyone who's done an 8HP swap, what your experiences has looked like, and you know, what pitfalls you've run into, and whether you think that was worth it or that would be a fun idea for this truck when we get to doing Resto-Mods on it. I think it would be pretty sweet to do that combination, just to have some fun with it. And with that TDI in there, you know, with a 70 series transmission, we could put a stage 2 or a stage 3 tune in it and not come anywhere near the horsepower and torque limits of that transmission. We're going to put a tune on the 318 and a turbo, but that will never come anywhere near the limits of the 45 series or 50 series transmission, even the official one. So, some food for thought on the Ranger. And we will keep you posted as things progress on that front. I will have a drum brake video for the Ranger. I think I mentioned that in the last video, coming up at some point, because I got to do rear brakes. But that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Sharps out.